pours love into the family. He pours love into the home, so his love can overflow into the world. I want to spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life removing pain. Lord, let my words heal a heart that hurts. I want to spend my life mending broken people, so his love can overflow into the world.
God bless each and every one of you, and I would like to welcome you back to Three Angels Broadcasting Network, and thank you so much for joining us for this tasty program. On this program, we will be preparing Thanksgiving dinner. But before we go to that, right off the top of this program, I would like to give some of our West Coast Fluffy fans a real good close-up view of Fluffy. We just got back from a trip to Oregon, and I discovered that there are a lot of Fluffy fans out on the West Coast. Come here, Fluffy. Come on. Let's give them a good shot of your good looks. Sit down right here. There. Now, isn't she pretty? And she's as sweet as she looks. Let me tell you that. She is a doll. Well, Fluffy, enough of your good looks. We've got to continue on with this program. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be preparing Thanksgiving dinner veggie style. And something I wanted to particularly mention, I just heard recently of a church that on Thanksgiving, about 40 or 50 of the members come in and they cook Thanksgiving dinner. And several of the vans will travel and take these dinners to prisoners, to shut-ins. They open the doors of their church on Thanksgiving Day and invite those who do not have families or plans for Thanksgiving to come in. I think it's such a wonderful idea for an outreach to the community, something that you might want to consider. But our guest today is Barbara Kerr, and she is with the ministry Taste of Health, and she will be preparing just some wonderful recipes. You're going to want to have your pad of paper and your pencils ready to give us a call, or give us a call here at 3ABN, and we'll send the recipes to you. Before we go to Barbara, though, I have a little story I'd like to share with you. There was a story of a man who was walking down the street, and he often passed a used bookstore as he was walking. But one day, as he was walking along, a title of a book just caught his eye, and it said, How to Hug. Now, this man was somewhat of a romantic, and he thought to himself, you know, I'd really like to hear what they have to say about how to hug. So he went into the store. He was rather in a hurry, so he didn't really examine the book, but he just went in, bought the book, and he took it home. When he had a chance to finally read the book, he was quite distressed to discover that the book was only the 7th volume of a set of encyclopedias covering the subjects from how to hug. This man was very disappointed because he didn't find in this book just what he was looking for. Do you know that sometimes people go to church and they're disappointed because they didn't find what they were looking for? Everyone knows that the church is really a place for love and fellowship. But sometimes people will go to churches and discover that it's only an encyclopedia for theology. If we have a head full of Bible knowledge without Christ, we're just going to be encyclopedias of theology. But if we have a head full of Bible knowledge with Christ living and reigning in our hearts, you know, the love is just going to blossom and bloom and just be there as a result of Christ living in our hearts. There are two vital things that we need today in order for that to happen. One is found in John chapter 15, verses 4 and 5. And Jesus tells us, Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abides in the vine, no more can you, except you abide in me. I am the vine, and you are the branches. He that abides in me, and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit. For without me, you can do nothing. We have to have that close and vital connection to our Heavenly Father in order to be able to bear fruit of love. Also, the other vital element that we need is found in Proverbs chapter 28, verse 1, where it says, "The righteous are as bold as a lion." You know, we must not be afraid of rejection. We can't be afraid of the criticism. We need to jump right in there and love people's ears off. But you know what? We're all a part of God's big family, and even in our own families, we find that we run into a grumpy one every now and then. But that should not distress us, because the Lord wants us to be obedient to His voice and no other voices. Remember, Jesus said, "Love one another as I have loved you." And look how many times the Lord has put up with our bad attitudes. Well, no matter what, we need to love their ears off. And a great way to show love and to share is through sharing Thanksgiving dinner. At this time, I'd like to welcome to the program Angie Hoffman. She'll be sharing a beautiful song entitled "God's Big Family," and then we'll meet you in the kitchen.
God's big family, precious soul set free. God's big family, cleansed at Calvary. Those whose lives have been redeemed, those whose blinded eyes now see. Yes, I'm so glad I'm part of God's big family. God's big family, precious soul set free. God's big family, cleansed at Calvary. Those whose lives have been redeemed, those whose blinded eyes now see. Yes, I'm so glad I'm part of God's big family. God's big family, precious soul set free. God's big family, cleansed at Calvary. Those whose lives have been redeemed, those whose blinded eyes now see. Yes, I'm so glad I'm part of God's big family.
It is such a pleasure to welcome back to 3ABN Barbara Kerr. Welcome back, Barbara.
Thank you, Linda. It's nice to be back.
Yes, and you have prepared a wonderful Thanksgiving menu. Tell us about it.
Well, a month ago when I got my call to come and prepare a Thanksgiving and a Christmas show, I got very busy and very excited because I love the holidays. And I'll tell you, in coming up with a menu, you know how when you're cooking for Christmas, you don't just make 3 or 4 things. You know, you have a table that's filled with, 10, 11, 12 dishes. And so as I went through and came up with a menu, I realized that I was creating, even for myself, more and more work. But I think that you'll be real excited with the recipes that we have today, and hopefully some things that will really take the place of that turkey on your table, something that you can be really happy to show your relatives and be very proud of to prepare, things that I think taste wonderful. So,
Well, Barbara, they say two women should never be in the kitchen, but I think this is going to be fun.
oh, good. Well, especially two redheads. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's the best. Let me tell you what our menu is for today. We're going to be making, and I would like to tell you right off the bat, turn your VCR on if you want to catch all this, because Linda and I are going through 12 recipes for you today, and we're going to be kind of speeding through them. So you're going to want to, be able to go back later and set that in so that you can write everything down. So I just want to let you know ahead of time we're going to be moving very fast and cutting out some of the steps that we would normally show in a recipe so that we can get through all of our wonderful,
Recipes.
exciting stuff
Yes.
here tonight. So
Okay.
what we have for our entree today is pumpkin soup, and we're going to also have roasted autumn vegetables, cornbread stuffing, sweet potato bake, red onion cranberry relish, vegan mashed potatoes, and if you never thought you could make wonderful mashed potatoes with butter and without butter and milk, you're wrong. We've got some that taste just like the real thing, so stand by for that. Pan gravy, cranberry cobblestone bread and dinner rolls, which is wonderful, a pumpkin foamy for our drink, an apple upside down pie. And if you've never seen one of these before, you're really in for a treat, because this is a really wonderful pie. I think you're going to like it. And of course, how can you go through Thanksgiving without pumpkin pie?
That's
so
right.
That wraps up our menu, and we're going to get started right away with our pumpkin soup. Now, what I'd like you to pretend like you're looking at right here is a beautiful 8 to 10 pound pumpkin, because when I got here, Linda, that was to be my centerpiece. So we have to use our imagination today, and I'm going to tell your viewers how to prepare a pumpkin as your soup bowl. So it's beautiful, and where I live in High Point, North Carolina right now, you can still go to the grocery store and buy a pumpkin, but here they've taken them off the market. So it's very lovely, and next year you can, if you're in some place where you can get them, that's great. If you're not, use this idea next year. You can get your pumpkin, and as we make our soup and it's sauteing, remind me to tell our viewers how we do that. But we're going to go ahead and get started with our ingredients for the pumpkin soup. They are 1/2 cup green pepper finely chopped, 1/4 cup green onion, you're going to use the white parts, finely chopped, 2 tablespoons fresh parsley chopped, 1/4 teaspoon thyme leaves, 2 bay leaves, 1/4 cup canola oil, 2 cups Hunt's Choice cut diced tomatoes, that's a mouthful, 1 large can, that's 30 ounces, of solid pack pumpkin, 4 teaspoons McKay's chicken style seasoning, 4 cups water, 1/8 cup of whole wheat pastry flour, 4 cups vanilla flavored almond milk by Naturally is the company, 2 teaspoons salt, and of course pie pumpkins as your serving bowls and a large pumpkin as your serving bowl. Even though there are several ingredients, I think that you'll be very happy with the way this soup turns out. So we're going to go ahead and get started by doing some sauteing, and our pan's gotten a little bit hot here, but that's okay. We'll try not to start any fires today, Linda. A little dangerous in the kitchen, I have to warn you. So I'm sure you've heard some stories. Now we're going to go ahead and put in our 1/2 cup of green pepper and our onion. And that's 1/4 cup chopped onion. We want to put in our parsley. Now we're going to saute these just until they're tender, not browned. Okay? Doesn't that smell good?
Ooh, smells wonderful.
And I guess we'll put that in just a second. So this recipe has a really nice flavor when it's done. Even though there's a lot of pumpkin in it, it has a nice rich taste to it like tomato soup does. So. Now
On the
after these-
holidays, it's really nice to have a variety of foods too, because when you have company and you don't know what they like.
And don't you normally have more than you can eat
That's
on
true.
your table? I mean,
Yeah,
I know we
that's
do
true.
at our house, but that's why you just I know you're not supposed to overeat, but I think just about everybody does on the holidays, don't you? And so what you do is you just, our food is always left out or there that you can go back and come back to later and get more. So now that we've sauteed this, we're going to add to it 2 bay leaves and a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme leaves. And you're just going to mix this in. Now we're going to be adding our 2 cans. You can help me out by reading some of those ingredient amounts for me
Okay,
again.
sure. That's 2 cans of Hunt's Choice cut diced tomatoes.
Okay.
And next, I think we're going to go for the pumpkin.
Okay.
This is the soup's namesake, and this is a recipe that you've developed yourself.
Yes, yes. This is a wonderful recipe.
Now
But I
you-
didn't develop it until a month ago. I want you to
You
know
may-
this is new. This is a new
And you'd
recipe.
mentioned earlier, too, that usually when you're developing recipes, it takes, 4 or 5 times before you really
Yes.
get the right recipe. But this one, the first time through, that's a miracle.
I'll tell you, God has really blessed me. When I got the call to come and do the show, I panicked a little. To be honest, I panicked just a little bit because I know how long it takes just to come up with one recipe. And sometimes there are it takes many tries before I get one that comes out right. And I just prayed every day, God, please send me recipes from the throne. And, I really think that He cares a lot about food and about what we put into our bodies. And I think that He cares about it being very palatable to us. I think that God is concerned with us having simple enjoyment even when it's our food. And I think that's important to Him. So maybe it's just me, but
Oh, no. The Lord cares about every facet of our lives.
and I do pray that it tastes good too. I think that's that's important.
Well, I think it's an important fact that you prayed and the Lord gave you these recipes in response to
Oh,
your prayers.
I'll tell you, He has been wonderful. So we're going to mix this pumpkin in. Now what we're thin it down with is some water and some McKay's chicken seasoning. I'm going to hand these to you. Now what I have here are 4 cups of water, and I've already mixed into it the 4 teaspoons of McKay's chicken style seasoning. And we're just going to put this into this is going to give it the soup texture so it's not so thick. And I know our pan's a little bit full here. Now when I made this recipe originally, I doubled it since then, okay? So hopefully it will fit in here just perfectly. So, and we won't make too big of a mess. Now this is the point where you want to let this simmer for about 30 minutes with the bay leaves and everything. You want to cover it and allow the soup just to cook and the flavors to blend before you add the almond milk. But we don't have time for that, so we're going to skip that step today. And we're going to mix this in, then we're going to put in our almond milk and bring it to a boil. I can turn this up, and then we will show you how this looks.
Looks wonderful.
So I was scared to make a pumpkin soup, but I did hear that, there are other people that have made pumpkin soups and they like them very well. So have you ever eaten pumpkin soup
I have
before?
never had pumpkin soup. Let me
So-
tell you, this smells absolutely wonderful.
Well,
Well, we don't have a pumpkin, but will this do?
that will do just fine. We will fill that up. Now what you can do with the pumpkins, I wanted to explain it, is if you have an 8 to 10 pound pumpkin, you can take it, and I've always had a difficult time cutting a pumpkin no matter what I'm cutting it for because it's so hard. So what I found is if you take your pumpkin and just put a little canola oil in your hands and rub it onto your pumpkin all over, stick your pumpkin in the oven at like between 325 and 350. And the big pumpkin, you can bake it for about 45 minutes to an hour. You don't want to overcook it because you want it to hold your soup. You don't want it to be too soft, so you might have to experiment with it just a little bit. But take that, and then I have this nifty little tool called a V-shaped cutter. I don't know if you've ever used one of these before, but this is wonderful. You can take your pumpkin then when it's just a little bit soft so that you can cut into it, and you just go around the top so you have of your pumpkin and connect each cut, and then you can lift the top off and you have that beautiful zigzag look all the way around the top. And you can do that with the little pie pumpkins too, and you want to bake them for only about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. And you're not going to want to cook that too long. So this is a V-shaped cutter, and if you've ever wondered, you know, when you see those fancy watermelon bowls and cantaloupe bowls, this is the tool that they used to get that. And you can find that at just about any cooking store. So that, I think, just looks beautiful. And then you have something, people want something to replace the turkey with. I mean, you are used to the holidays. I don't know how, if you've never eaten meat or, you know, exactly how you grew up, but we always had a turkey in the middle of the table. And so people that have eaten that way every year, they expect something. I mean, there's something visual there that you need. And I think that if you can either have a very attractive pumpkin bowl or something like that, you're going to be able to
Yeah,
make it work
what we
better.
always say here is that the Lord does not take a dollar bill out of your hand without replacing it with a $10 bill. He always replaces it with something better. And when we're cooking for our families, the Lord has provided many, many wonderful recipes that we can feed our family. And I'm so thankful that Barbara here is open to the inspiration of the Lord as she's developing her recipes.
Well, I really do enjoy cooking. So the last step that we have in the recipe is we're going to put, I will just want to see what's on here. Just want to make sure because I don't want to give you any wrong information. We're going to put 4 cups of vanilla flavored almond milk by Naturally, but before I pour all of that in, I'm going to blend it with 1/8 a cup of whole wheat pastry flour, and that's going to give it just a little of its thickener. And we're just going to whisk this up.
While you're doing that, I think I'll mention, in order to obtain almond milk, they typically do not sell this at a regular grocery store, but you can obtain things like this at your health food store.
And also, it would really be neat. A lot of the grocery stores are becoming more health conscious. I know that some of the ones that I go into now will carry a selection of the different rice milks and things like that, but this milk in particular is made by the company Naturally, and it's the only almond milk that actually uses almonds, so it tastes the best. That's why I've put the company on here, because I think that it's wonderful. Go in and ask your grocery stores to carry it, because I think that the prices will be cheaper, and it's one way that we can have a little power.
Oh, definitely.
So
makes a big difference when you make those requests.
yes, it definitely does. So this calls for 4 cups, and we're going to go ahead and just put this in, and hopefully we're not going to overload this pan. And then you can stir this in slowly, and then as this comes to a boil, it will thicken. And I think we'll have just enough room.
So this will thicken as it comes to a
Yes.
boil again.
Because of the flour in there, the whole wheat pastry flour. As it comes to a boil, then it will thicken. And you will have wonderful pumpkin soup. So I'm still very excited about this recipe, although I've got to tell you, my husband absolutely hates pumpkin. And he hates pumpkin pie and anything that has to do with pumpkin. So when I make
you're probably like at my house, I have a his and hers.
Do you?
Yes.
But do you alter the way you cook because of it? I mean, you don't make certain dishes.
Yeah, well, especially when you're pressed for time, you end up just cooking for him. But when I have a little extra time, there's his and hers.
Yeah, well, that's nice. I sort of got to a point where I just had to make whatever was on the menu, and I think especially the first 3 or 4 years of marriage, I don't know how you are, but you try and you want to do everything just right for your spouse, and then I don't know if it's time or whatever sets in, and then you get a little bit more practical and say, okay, I've got to just make what I can make and go on. So when we have pumpkin soup at home, Bill's making sandwiches, but that's okay. He's very sweet about it. He tries everything. Even my pumpkin soup he tried. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and put this into our bowl here and try real hard not to spill it.
I've got a towel ready if you do.
Okay.
Oh, that is pretty.
Okay.
And it looks prettier yet if it's in a pretty carved pumpkin.
Nice and orange. That's beautiful. And then you can just take a ladle, and we can ladle some of that up later. I want to show you a little idea that I have had for setting your table. Now it's kind of, I don't know, you might call it a little Martha Stewart idea, but I got this out of a magazine some time ago. I happened to see they weren't doing fall, but they had something else. And you just take 2 glass plates. It's very simple. And I just have 1 glass plate here and another one. And I took the leaves that were in the yard and I just picked them up. Now what you want to do with your leaves, get the colorful ones, you know, orange and yellow and red if you can. And as soon as you bring them in the house, now I picked these off the tree. I did not actually pick them up off the ground. You can do that if it's if they're still soft. But I picked them and then I brought a whole bunch inside and set a book on top of them so they would flatten out. And I left some that didn't do that. And you've got to lay them flat. If you flatten them out, then you can use that, arrange them on your plate, set another glass plate on top of it, and then you have a beautiful autumn place setting.
Oh yes, it is beautiful.
And you could do this with Christmas or any holiday, and you can get clear glass plates very inexpensively at a lot of, you know, these cheaper stores.
Sure.
So they may look expensive, but those were I think I paid 99 cents for those plates. So
That's a great
just a little
idea.
So okay,
Yes.
we're on to our next recipe, and we're going to be making for you red onion cranberry relish. And what we're going to be doing is reading you our ingredients, which are 1 large red onion sliced into rings, 1 tablespoon canola oil, 1/4 cup raisins, 1/4 cup fruit juice, any berry flavor, just have it be an all fruit juice, a dash of salt, 3/4 cup pure maple syrup, a 4-inch cinnamon stick, 1 cup of water, 1 12-ounce package of cranberries, 2 tablespoons cornstarch, plus we're going to mix that with a 1/2 cup of the juice from the onion cranberry mixture at the end, and that will be our thickener. We sauteed these onions earlier, and these are you want to slice them very thin because that way they'll cook up faster. And we sauteed them for 5 minutes till they're tender. You don't necessarily want to make them real brown. Now what we're going to add is a 1/4 cup of raisins, Linda. There's some unique ingredients in this recipe, but I think that you'll be surprised at how nice it tastes. And you want I think it's a 1/4 cup let's see, of any berry flavor all fruit juice. Okay. And you're just going to cook this for another minute, and then we're going to let this go. Okay.
A dash of salt.
And we need a dash of salt. I guess our dash of salt is in here on top of our cornstarch. I guess we'll do that. Okay, now in a separate saucepan, what we already have going for you is we've put our 3/4 cup pure maple syrup, 1 cup of water. Is that right, Linda? And we've put 1 4-inch cinnamon stick. And we've let that simmer for 10 minutes because you want to blend the flavors to get that flavor. And now what we're going to add to that, I'm going to let you take over sauteing this. And we're going to take our cranberries, and you're going to use 1 12-ounce package of cranberries, but it's still just 3 cups. So you want to turn mine up just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and measure. You want to put the first 2 cups in. That's 1. And you're going to let them cook. Okay.
How long do they
I'll take
cook?
another spatula too, please.
Okay.
You can turn mine up on high. Now you want to cook these just until the berries begin to pop. Now the thing about cooking into, when you want to cook cranberries, the secret is if you're not going to ruin your cranberry relish, once the berries begin to pop, stop. Because if you cook it too long, then they break open and then you've got the seeds everywhere and it doesn't look as pretty when you serve it. So we're going to cook this just until the berries pop. We've got this hot. And then you can add your last cup. But I'm going to, for the sake of time, go ahead and put the rest of our berries in here. Okay? And then as soon as these pop, start to open, we're going to add this mixture back to our onion mixture. Okay? Now cranberry is one of those dishes that people really have strong feelings about. They either really like it or they hate it. Are you a cranberry lover or hater?
You know, my grandparents always had cranberry relish on the table, but not this particular recipe.
So usually what I find with cranberry dishes is that it's very sweet or it's too tart to eat. But I find that people put so much sugar into their cranberry relish that for me, if I just take a little, I will want that taste at the holidays. I really like that. I want it with my food, but I don't like how sweet it is. Usually I can't take more than just a little spoon.
Right.
But my best friend Claudia taught me a little trick that when you're eating your Thanksgiving dinner, and they've done this for years, they take a bite of cranberry or a bite of whatever else they have on their plate and they put a little cranberry with it and they eat that with every single bite of food. And I thought it was really strange at first. I really laughed at them. But you know, I tried it because I'll try anything, you know,
anything
one
once,
time.
sure.
And you know what? They were absolutely right. It really adds a lot to your whole meal. So sometime try that. Put a little bit of your cranberry, you know, with your mashed potatoes, your stuffing, whatever. I know it sounds kind of strange, but try it. It's really good. I think you'll like it. So these are just starting to plump up. As you can see, some of the skins are starting to split.
I can tell this is going to be a very pretty dish too, because cranberries always just add
They
so
are
much color.
Beautiful. I want to take that out there. Oh, can you hear them popping?
Yes, it
That's
sounds like
wonderful.
popcorn.
So this is a very, very pretty dish. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add this into the onion mixture here in just a second, and then we're going to thicken it by taking some of the juice out and mixing it with cornstarch. So I think we're just about ready.
You probably just let them pop for about a minute and then pour them into the pan.
Yeah, you can tell, like you can see some of these are getting a little bit, I think that's just about right.
Okay.
So we'll pour this in and you can mix that in. And this is the point where we're going to remove that cinnamon stick.
Okay.
Go ahead and you can just flop. As
Flop
long as
it
you don't
in
throw it
there.
at me, Linda.
I wouldn't do that.
So we'll set it over here. I'm dangerous to cook with, I'm telling you. I'm beginning to think that I'm the Tim Allen of 3ABN. Since I've got here, I seem to keep injuring myself. And I'll tell you, you know,
Hey,
when
we
you
didn't
cook,
we didn't show everybody yet.
I know, we have matching Band-Aids
We
on.
have matching hair and matching thumbs. Yes, both of us. We
done.
have separate incidents now, but we cut ourselves this morning.
You have to, you know, I used to always laugh at that show. I know it's not the Tool Time show, it's Home Improvement, and I've watched it over the years off and on, and I laugh at him every time he ends up in the hospital because he's hurting himself on the tools. But you know, since when you're cooking and you're cutting things up very fast, I've learned a very important lesson that you have to, if you're going to talk to somebody, I have to stop cutting because usually that's when I do something. But I'll tell you, I just keep trying to impair myself. So now what we're going to do, now this part's a little bit tricky, but you know, we're going to be okay. And I think I'll take that glass measuring cup.
Okay.
Well, I don't have it, so we'll just put it in here. So we're going to mix our cornstarch with it, and I'll have you help me tip this.
Okay.
And I just want to get a little of the juice out, okay? If we have a few cranberries in there, that's okay. You can use up to a half a cup, and it'll be fine. Okay, you can put that down. And what I'm going to do is just take the cornstarch. We've got 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and we're just going to whisk that in. And this is what's going to thicken up your cranberries and give it a real pretty
Sauce.
look to it. Yes. So, and cornstarch is good because it will dissolve pretty fast in water, so, or any liquid. Of course, unless you know you're working in front of a TV camera, then it stays lumpy. So, okay, let's mix that right in, and as it boils, then you'll see that will just thicken right up.
Now, I would have never thought to put cranberries and onions together,
I'll
but
tell you.
this smells wonderful.
You're going to love this recipe. I think you'll be really happy with it. So we'll just bring that to a boil, and that is ready to go. And we can put that into a bowl. We're ready for that?
Yeah, now how many tries did it take to develop this one?
One.
Just
Same as a
one.
pumpkin soup. Boy, I was 2 for 2 when I did the cranberry and the pumpkin soup, and I was like, oh, thank you, God, thank you. Because usually, you know, you go through a lot of ingredients, and you want things that taste good. And for me, my goal is to make it taste like what it's replacing. And if it doesn't taste very close to what it's replacing, it gets pitched. So I just feel like God has provided enough ingredients and different foods here on the earth that there's no reason why we can't
That's right.
figure
You know,
out a way
I
to-
really think you're the Julia Child of vegetarian food.
Well, thank you, Linda.
Vegetarian cooking, yes.
I'm just gonna set-
I think this is done.
Okay, let's
Looks
just put
great.
that right into this bowl,
Okay.
and we will get on to our cranberry. Do you need help with cranberry cobblestone bread? This is delicious. And this one is not overly sweet. I mean, it has a sweet flavor to it, but I don't think you're going to find it too sweet. And you can put, you know, this on whatever it is that you would like. I'll just set this out here. And we'll go on to our cranberry cobblestone bread, and I think that you're really going to like this. This is a very light, nice, sweet bread, and the ingredients are 6 cups whole wheat pastry flour, 4 teaspoons yeast, 2½ cups warm water, 2 tablespoons canola oil, 2 teaspoons salt, 1/2 cup honey, 2 to 3 cups whole wheat pastry flour, 3/4 cup fresh or frozen cranberries chopped fine, 1/2 cup pure maple syrup, 4 teaspoons ground cinnamon, and we're going to bake this when we're done at 375 degrees for 40 to 45 minutes. Now, don't laugh at what you see my setup here. I have started our dough early because, as you know, bread dough takes a while to mix up, and I didn't want to do that. You can go ahead and take this off for me if you will.
Okay.
And I have to tell you, Linda, somebody asked me this last week, did I go to school to become a cook? And I said to them, why, yes, I did. I went to the school of my mother and my grandmother. And that is where I learned to cook. And they are 2 of the best cooks that I've ever known. And, but I've never made a lot of homemade bread before. It's all, I mean, my mother made homemade bread over the years, but we didn't make it a lot. And I can't remember that I became super proficient at it, especially when it's so much easier to go to the grocery store, you know, and buy that loaf there. But I learned an important lesson this morning. I'm going to pass it on to all of you that probably already know this, but I did not. If you make bread dough up ahead of time, you can freeze it. Okay, you can get it, raise it, and you let it raise the first couple times.
And then when you punch it down, it's ready to freeze.
Punch it down, and then it's ready to freeze, and you can stick it in the freezer. Now, when you take it out and you want it to thaw, you cannot defrost it in the microwave.
Hey, now that's a good lesson.
You can't. You know, I was in a hurry. I made this dough yesterday so that it would be ready for today, and Dee was trying to help me. She told me I could blame her if it didn't turn out, but I'm not going to blame Dee. What we did was, it was frozen, and I forgot to come and get it out early this morning so that it would be ready. And I stuck it in the microwave, and it looked beautiful when I took it out, but when I pulled the dough apart, it was cooked on the inside, so it doesn't work. But I salvaged what I could out of it because for lack of other ingredients. And we have a little bit more than we need for our 1 loaf. But what I want to tell you about this recipe that I've given you is that the amount is enough for 2 loaves of bread, or what I like to do is make 1 loaf of the cranberry cobblestone bread with it, cut it in half, and I make the other half into dinner rolls. Because it's nice to have a bread that's, you know, got cinnamon and stuff like that in it. But you don't want to go through your Thanksgiving meal without just a plain roll of some kind that you can either put, you know, cranberry on, or I guess I'd be putting cranberry on it anyways, but something like that. Now, what we're going to do now, and this is kind of fun, we need our biggest glass bowl down there, Linda.
Okay.
And I think we have just a little bit too much dough because we're going to cut off a little bit. And in a bowl, you want to mix 3/4 cup Now this is before they're chopped, not after.
Now be careful when you cut off
Yes.
a piece there.
Yes, we gotta be careful.
We don't want 2 Band-Aids on there.
That's right. And I just chopped this right in my food processor. And we're gonna put in, I believe this is a 1/2 cup of pure maple syrup, yes, a 1/2 cup, and 4 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And what's gonna happen is we go through and we're gonna, you can get out those 2 pair of scissors if you see them, a yellow handle and a blue handle there. They're right with the other ones. They just, you need to squeeze them together.
Okay. Oh, I see.
So we're just gonna, you wanna mix this together. Now what we're gonna do, and this is the fun part. Linda once asked me when we did pumpkin pie before if I played in a sandbox when I was a little girl. This is a recipe that's similar, you know, reminiscent of our childhood. And I'm gonna give you some to work on. I'm gonna work on some. And we might not do all of this, but I wanna show you what we're going to do. You want to take your kitchen cutters or some kind of kitchen scissors that you have, and after you've mixed this together, you're going to cut off very little pieces. Let me see if I can show you here. It's about the size of the end of your thumb, okay? You just want a very small piece of dough, and you're going to cut those off, okay, as fast as you can and drop them into your mixture.
Boy, this is fun.
See? Isn't this? Now when this bakes, what will happen, now after you've gotten about maybe 20 pieces in there, just give it a mix around so that they're all getting coated so that they're not going to just glob back together. Okay? Let's cut that. And so what this does is it ends up making your bread, when it cooks, have a pretty cobblestone look when you slice it. Now it's not quite as prominent as if this were completely white bread, but who wants white bread? I don't.
That's
I don't
true.
want white bread.
That's true.
But I have found that when you use whole wheat pastry flour in this recipe, that it makes a real light dough. And you know, I've been reading a lot out of Counsels on Diets and Food from Ellen G. White lately, and she has a lot in there, Linda, to say about bread. That she says there's more religion in a loaf of bread. And I'll tell you that she's very emphatic about bread being very light and very sweet. She must have said that 50 times in what I read yesterday. So I think that this one will, this is both light and sweet when you're finished with it. So you get the idea of
when you're cutting your dough, if you have a Band-Aid on, be very careful the Band-Aid does not go in the bread.
Yummy.
I noticed this dough is really trying to pull my Band-Aid off.
Well, we definitely don't want that. So we're going to mix this up here. Now after you get all your little pieces cut, and remember you're going to have your dough with the recipe if you use it exactly the amount that I gave you. Cut it in half. 1/2 will be your loaf of bread, and the other half you're going to want to turn into dinner rolls. And I'm going to assume at this point in time that you can do that. If not, I'll show you what they look like when they're finished.
Now, did you grind up your cranberries in like an electric chopper?
Yeah, food processor. Let me just check them. Now, after you get all of it mixed in, you're going to put it in medium large loaf pan, and you're going to need to flour the bottom of it, which I didn't bring any flour down, and I didn't do the one yesterday, so I mean it will work, but what will happen is when you turn it out, when it's done baking, after about 10 minutes, as it's, you don't want to let it cool in the pan. If you do, because it's a little sticky on the bottom, you'll find that pieces will stick to it. And even if you do it the right amount where it's 10 minutes later, when you turn it out, occasionally you'll have 4 or 5 little pieces that will stick to it. Don't worry about that. Just leave your bread upside down and take a spatula and go along the bottom, because usually there'll just be one little spot that might stick. Scrape it off evenly and it will fit right back into your loaf and look great. And so that's all we need to do for that. I think we'll let this out. Can you finish sort of mixing that in? And I'm going to just spritz this a little bit. This is my kitchen spritzer. I can fill it with oil.
They make some wonderful olive oil sprays now.
Yes, they do. And what's nice about this, you can put olive oil, canola, whatever you want in this bottle, and you don't have any grain alcohol or propellants. So now, if we had a little flour, I would dust the bottom of this just a little. but we don't, so we're just going to put our bread in like this. Okay. I'll give that to
Oh,
you,
that's
Linda.
going to be pretty.
And you're going to let it raise one more time. Okay, kind of, sort of, okay, there we go. You want to let it raise, and it's not going to need to raise much in this pan, maybe, you know, because it's going to raise a little bit in the oven too when you cook it. And the finished product we have here for you, and I've got it wrapped because you never want to let your bread sit out, it'll dry out. Do you like dry bread? I don't. So if you will get that serrated bread knife that's sticking there out of the top, it has a little cover on it, a white cardboard cover. It's right here, this big one. I want to show you what our cranberry cobblestone bread looks like done. And I'll just cut it so you can see the middle. I'll just cut a piece right here. And see, this way you can see how it has the cobblestone road effect. Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
And this bread is so nice and light and sweet, and it's just wonderful.
And you could serve it warm. Ooh,
yeah,
sounds great.
There's all kinds of potential with the bread. And we have our rolls that we've made in, you know, the extra 12 rolls that we have here. So that is our bread for today, and I'm going to just put it on our beautiful autumn plate. And this we can just set under somewhere. And we'll be ready to go on to our next recipe, which is our sweet potato bake. And the ingredients in our sweet potato bake is 2 29-ounce cans of cut yams in light syrup, if you can find them, drained. 3/4 cup pure maple syrup, 1 teaspoon pure vanilla, 1/8 cup canola oil, 1/3 cup vanilla flavored almond milk by Naturally, 2 tablespoons flax seeds, 1/2 cup additional vanilla flavored almond milk, 1/2 cup sucanat, 1/2 cup whole wheat pastry flour, 1/4 cup canola oil, 1 cup pecans coarsely chopped, and we're going to bake this at 30 minutes at 350 degrees. Now Linda and I have already gone ahead and mixed up our sweet potatoes, maple syrup, the oil, and put the vanilla milk in here. Now what I wanted to save for you to show you, and I know this looks kind of
different.
Strange. Now this is 2 tablespoons of flaxseed mixed with half a cup of vanilla flavored almond milk. Now what flax seeds do when you blend them in your blender is it takes the place of egg. Now it's very hard to find an egg substitute, and it will make things stick together. If you're having a tough time getting your meatballs or whatever to stick together, try two tablespoons of flax seeds blended up, and it can be any liquid. It doesn't have to be almond milk. But I put it in this so that it would you know, lend itself better to the recipe that we're making. And what it does is this will just give it a little extra stick. So, you know how you... So we'll just blend this in, and while this is mixing, I'm going to mix up our topping, which is 1/2 cup of sucanat, 1/2 cup of whole wheat pastry flour. You can put in the pecans. Linda's been eating several of these, so.
Enjoying them too.
And go ahead and just put our oil in as I mix this. Okay, now as you mix the crumb topping, this is just it's going to be very, well, hey, when you sit on the front row, I throw lots of food. So, okay. Just so that,
Hey,
we're trying to hurry
this
here.
is the sandbox.
Linda,
isn't it?
you mix this.
Okay.
I give that to you. And we don't want to waste any of our toppings, so
Yes.
I'm just going to put this back in here since it's all the sweet potatoes. Okay, and this is ready. We're going to stop this.
You got to have a little fun.
Oh, I think cooking is fun. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't like doing dishes. Absolutely hate it. But my husband's a really good dishwasher.
Oh,
So
well, you have been
he
blessed.
and I kind of trade.
Yeah, you do the cooking and he cleans up.
That's right. Or
That's
sometimes he
that
does.
sounds like a great arrangement.
Sometimes he does the cooking and he still cleans up. He's great in the kitchen. I love him. I don't know what I would do without Bill
Now, I
to
have
help
an
me.
idea that we're going to sprinkle this on top.
Yes, we are. Let me just get this. We're going to spread this out in your deep dish baker. If you don't have one of these, just use a 10-inch quiche pan and just cover the top of that, Linda.
Okay.
Let's give it a nice cover. All you need to do then is finish sprinkling the topping all around the top and completely cover the dish, and then you can pop it in the oven at 350 and bake it for 30 minutes, and it will be nicely browned on top.
And when you lick your fingers, it's wonderful.
This is a very good. Now we're going on to my favorite recipe, which is the apple upside down pie. And Linda, this is wonderful. It's not made like your traditional pie, and we're going to read the ingredients for you now. We're going to start out with a 1/4 cup pure maple syrup, 1/3 cup pecan halves, coarsely chopped, 1 recipe for whole grain pie crust, and the filling is going to be 1/2 cup pure maple syrup, 3 tablespoons whole wheat pastry flour, 1 teaspoon cinnamon ground, and 4 large fresh Granny Smith or tart pie apples. And we're going to start this by putting a unique topping in. We're going to pour in our pure maple syrup right into your pie plate. And on top, and you can just sort of get this to go around, and we're going to take our pecans, and we're going to just coarsely chop it. This is my whippy dippy chopper. I'd be lost without it. And you just want to sprinkle around your pecans. And I'm going to use my fingers here.
That's okay.
Okay, and you just kind of want this to fill up the edge, out to the edge. Now when you we're going to lay our whole grain pie crust on here, Linda, and I just need the top one, and we'll turn this upside down. Okay, and you just want to center this on your pie plate. Get rid of this. And you're going to press this down right onto the top of the pecans. Now make sure and push down on the edges to get rid of any air bubbles that might be in the side. Okay, and you can kind of see that looks a little bumpy. Okay, and now for our filling is very simple. We're going to take our Granny Smith apples that we have right there, and we're going to pour on them a teaspoon of cinnamon, and you can get a mixing spoon there, and we'll just mix this around. And you want to coat them. See if you can do that without throwing. We kind of need a bigger bowl here.
Yeah, I think we've got one over here.
Okay, I'll start to mix this while you get that. You just want to coat your apples really well with the flour and the cinnamon, kind of get it mixed around. And then you're going to dump on your pure maple syrup. And we'll go ahead and put on our 3/4 cup pure maple syrup. Or that's 1/2 cup pure maple syrup.
Is that big enough?
That looks great, Linda. Let's just put that right into there. That way we can mix it quicker, and I will give you that one, case change. And we just want to get that coated. And now I have an apple peeler core slicer, which is great. It slices all of my apples exactly 1/8 of an inch thick, and they bake real fast. And if you use a real nice tart pie apple, then your pie is going to come out a little bit tastier. And all those little things make a difference. Okay, this is a heavy bowl, so I'm going to let you scrape this out right into our. Did we get it all?
Yeah, just about.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. And I'll take that spoon. Thank you, Linda. Now you just want to put your apples around on here. You know, they're kind of mounded up in the middle. And our next recipe of our top pie crust, when you bake this, you might want to put a pizza pan underneath, just in case. Every once in a while I have a few drops of maple syrup that might come up over the sides. Most of the time that doesn't happen. So I guess we've got
a couple layers here.
Several layers of saran wrap. We didn't want our pie crust to dry out, because if your pie crust dries out, then it's very hard to work with. So we're just going to put this over the top, and we're going to tuck our edges in and fold them over. And Linda, you can get out our finished one if you'd like, and we'll show them what it looks like when it's done. Okay. Now after you bake this pie, you're going to let it cool for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you'll want some kind of pretty glass display plate, and then you'll put it over the top, and then just turn it over and turn it out onto your plate, and then it's beautiful. It's sort of like, it looks like a cinnamon roll to me.
Oh, it does. And how long does this bake?
This bakes for 50 to 60 minutes at 400 degrees. So, and this is wonderful. Speaking of wonderful, many of you have the recipe for my pumpkin pie from before, and it's also included in this group of recipes, but there's one note that I want to make to you about anyone that has gotten this recipe. Morinu Tofu has changed the way they package their tofu from the time that I originally came out with the recipe. And I had given the two 10.5 ounce boxes of tofu was what was supposed to go in there. But you'll need to, because now they're putting it in 12.3 ounce boxes. It completely changes the recipe if you use 2 of those. So the measurement, just write it down, and it will be included in the recipes that they get, is 2.5 cups mashed. So just take it out of whatever box you have, mash it. It's 2.5 cups mashed total. That's what you need for the best pumpkin pie that you've ever had.
Now you have some other recipes here that we are going to scan, and these are recipes that you can contact us here at 3ABN. We will forward them on to Barbara, and you can obtain her cookbook directly from her.
We have our cornbread stuffing, our autumn roasted vegetables, vegan mashed potatoes and pan gravy, and of course we have our sweet potato bake, our cranberry cobblestone bread. We have our regular dinner rolls, our apple upside down pie, and our pumpkin pie, and our cranberry onion relish. And it's a tongue twister, Linda. And of course we have our pumpkin soup. And that's what makes up our menu today, except for our drink. And we just have our pumpkin foamy, and we're going to make this quickly. We've already blended our ingredients, and this is what they are. 1 cup vanilla flavored almond milk by Naturally, 1 medium banana broken into pieces, 1/4 cup solid packed pumpkin, dash of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons pure maple syrup, and 4 ice cubes. We're going to go ahead, Linda, and just give this another quick, and I think you will like this. And this makes enough for 2.
Looks great. Well, just in closing, we would like to give you all a toast and say, may you have many happy, wonderful adventures in your kitchen as you're cooking veggie style. May you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and may God richly bless you abundantly more than you could ever ask or think.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you for being our family. Thank you for being our friends. May God bless and keep you in all that you may do until God bless.